Okay, Mr. Chair, I have 7:35. The recording has started. We have tonight's agenda. I'm not sure that there's anybody here for the first item on the agenda, so after we take care of the administration portion of this, you may want to swap those two around and see if they show up.
Okay, so thanks. Like Hank said, we're going to call the January 6, 2021 City of Huntington Woods Historic District Commission meeting to, I don't know, Hank, I don't know if you have already noted who's in attendance. So let's move right on to the first order of business, which is the approval of minutes from November 4th and December 2nd. We have to do each of those individually, Hank?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. If you could do a roll call vote for those commissioners present.
Okay, so we'll start with the November 4 meeting minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I have one change.
Okay.
I think it tends to be more of a clerical or typographic change. On page 2 of the minutes, where it says public participation closed, and there's some narrative about Hank indicating that only 5 members were present. When the roll call is shown above, it shows 6 members present.
Okay, so let's clarify that. Again, we have somebody new that's taking the minutes. So, okay, Rick was there. I remember that. Steve, you were there, correct?
Yes.
Robert was there. Martha, were you there? Martha, were you there?
She's nodding.
Okay, she's nodding. Okay. Chris, were you there?
I was, and I was there in 3 different personas, so just check the spelling of my last name.
Okay, I will check it. Let me make a note of that. And then Mark, we show there. So actually what the inconsistency is, Steve, is that we should add Mark to that.
Well, it should say that there were 6 members.
That's correct.
in attendance.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And we should make that an M and not an N. Okay.
Okay, so barring any, are there any other clarifications to the minutes that are needed? So barring none, is there a motion to approve the amended meeting minutes?
Motion to approve amended meeting minutes from November the 4th.
Can I have a second?
Second.
So I can't tell if it was Jim or Martha was first, so pick one, Hank.
It'll be Jim. Martha, your microphone's not working. I'm not hearing you. You're on mute. Cannot hear you.
Okay, so while Martha's working with that, at least I'll put forth all in those in favor of approval, and then we can, if Martha's microphone doesn't work, we can at least get a hand gesture. So I have to go through each individual, Hank, is that correct?
You do, please.
Okay, so Steve,
Yes. Aye.
Louise, Jim,
Aye.
and Martha. I'll take that as an aye.
Yeah.
And I
Yourself.
think that's all of us, and I'll certainly approve.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So then the second agenda item is just the
second set of minutes.
Yep, is the meeting minutes from December 2nd. Does anybody have any comments or amendments?
My name is spelled wrong on the first line. 1 N, not 2.
Okay, that really surprises me. Okay.
Given, yes.
Yeah, we'll take care of that. I'll have to speak to our minutes taker about that, although I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
And
okay.
my name's spelled various ways again too, but
we'll get those two squared away, and I'll send her an email and let her know.
Oh, Martha's pointing to something too. I think her name's misspelled as well.
Usually somebody throws a C in on Martha's name.
Yeah, she's saying yes.
Okay. All right, we'll get that too. We'll check the spelling of the names.
Okay, so now that with those corrections, can anyone make a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
To approve.
Could I have a second? Louise approved. Could I have a second, please? Martha's
Second.
waving, so Martha's got the second. So same order, Steve,
Yes.
Louise, Jim,
Yes.
and Martha's raising her hand, so I'm going to say that's a yes, and I will say yes as well.
Thank you.
So I guess, Hank, seeing that right now, are you saying that our first applicant is
Oh,
not?
you can call the application, and then what I would suggest is that if nobody that's here is for that application, then what I would do is we'll need a motion to amend the agenda to put the Heller application first, and then we'll go back to Zacharias. And then if Zacharias isn't here by the end of the meeting, then at that point in time, the commission can act.
Okay, so we'll start with the matter of the addition to the Zacharias residence at 26405 Henry. Let's see here. Oh my gosh, I lost my order, my meeting minutes order. So I apologize, Hank. Is there anyone in here to speak on behalf of this application? Hank, it does not appear that anybody is here, so I guess I would like to maybe entertain a motion to have our agenda, our second applicant moved to first.
Yeah, that would just, Mr. Chair, that would be a motion to amend the agenda to swap the first and second item on the agenda.
Okay, so if I could entertain a motion to swap the position of the two applications.
I'll make that motion to swap the application.
So that's Louise. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
I
Second.
I think Jim got in first.
Yep,
So
we'll go with Jim.
okay.
But Martha, we can hear you now.
Yes, which is great. Okay, so let's vote on this motion. So Steve,
I'm voting to amend the agenda. I'm in favor of that.
yes. Louise,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Martha,
Yes.
and I will vote yes for that as well. So we might as well hop right in then. So this is the matter of the garage driveway alteration to the Heller residence at 26515 Dundee. Hank, I would imagine that you probably have drawings and everything, correct?
I do.
Okay, so
We can either do that, or we can let, typically the applicant would go first, and that would be Mr. Ostrowski, unless he would prefer that I go first, or we kind of.
No, I was just wondering if you've given everybody permission to open drawings. So I guess, well, let's just go ahead and let the applicant present. And then if you have to present the drawings, Hank, let me know. Otherwise, I think Mr. Ostrowski, you're probably here for the applicant.
Yes, I am.
So if you could just please state your name and go right ahead with your presentation.
Well, good evening. My name is Michael Ostrowski of Ostrowski Design Group, LLC. We are the firm representing David and Gail Heller of 26515 Dundee in Huntington Woods. And we also prepared the design documents that we will be presenting and discussing. We are asking for a certificate of appropriateness regarding our proposal, which includes a repositioning of an existing garage door from one elevation to another. We submitted existing and proposed engineering site and landscaping plans, as well as original, existing, and proposed architectural elevations with an additional west or rear elevation design option for your review. To begin, I would like to go to sheet L1, which is the existing site plan, if possible, Hank.
Hold on, let me do this. Okay, Mike, help me out here with where L1 is because I can't see it.
That is not L1. That is the engineer. There you are. That's L1. Thank you. Oh,
Okay.
back one. There you are. There you are.
Okay,
Okay.
now I see it. It's on the bottom right.
Right. Okay. L1 is the existing site plan as it sits today. The main house, as you can see, sits in the middle of the property, running along Dundee Road and Nadine Avenue. The main house is a brick house with a sandstone turret. It has a rear existing patio of bluestone. It also has a garage at the south end of the property, which we'll be talking a lot about. South elevation, as well as the existing driveway, which is, as a matter of fact, is 1,320 square feet of concrete, which exits from the west elevation and travels down out of the property onto Nadine Avenue, just in front of Alligator Park. The landscaping is existing that we've shown the largest of the existing plantings along the left-hand side of the driveway are approximately 20 foot. They're approximately 1, 2, 3, 4. Arborvitae of approximately 20 feet in height. Along the right side of the driveway, you can see a gentle curve of, again, 20-foot arborvitae. And then along the south elevation of the garage, you have at least viburnum of approximately 10 feet in height, or excuse me, 8 feet in height. Then the other trees that hug up tight to the house are maples, and around the rest of the property, as you can see, is grass and the bluestone walkway to the front. Next, I would like to go to sheet L2, which is the proposed site plan. Thank you, Hank. The proposed site plan is changed only in the fact that we've opened up the garage area so everybody can see the existing layout. The west elevation or the south elevation is where we are looking at proposing the new driveway with the garage door. The west elevation to the left is our proposal of changing that opening into a couple of double doors. There, from the garage that leads into the house, is a walk-in closet and also a mudroom area. We are also proposing to relocate a driveway from the left-hand side of the property that was swinging into the west elevation, proposing a new driveway of exposed aggregate, which would be 20 feet wide, and that it would extend down, and that is approximately 570 square feet versus the 1,300 square feet of concrete. We're also looking at relocating the existing 20-foot arborvitae along the west edge of the property line and putting new landscaping in, fencing, and a new pool. Next, I'd like to go to sheet L3, which is the existing west and south building elevations. A3, okay. Oh.
Is that what you got? Yep. Okay.
A3, there you are. Thank you. A3 shows the existing rear or west elevation with the garage to the right-hand side. The lower elevation is the existing side, south elevation existing. There is as you can see, an existing wood garage door, which is approximately 15 feet in width and approximately 7 feet in height, with a 1 foot exposed header of painted wood above it. There is brick coining on each end of that garage, with the opening for a window which has been removed and existing. Well, there's glass blocks sitting in there now, so the original window has been removed. The existing south elevation at the bottom, the garage again is to the bottom and to the left. There is existing The original window has been removed and the glass block has been replaced. Again, that is brick fascia, face brick along the base with coining on either side, with a gutter and then a gable, or not a gable, but a hip roof on the front. And this is where we are looking at proposing the relocation of the existing door. So finally, you're at sheet A4, which is the proposed west and south elevation. So what we are asking is to, if you look on the left bottom of the sheet, is the proposed side or south elevation. We are asking to be able to take the existing door, which is 15 feet wide, and relocate it into that elevation with leaving all the brick coining and putting in matching the header detail, which is the detail on the right-hand side, the garage header detail, indicating the original detail, which we will put in to handle the opening and then the door itself. On the proposed rear west elevation, what we're looking at for doing an infill is leaving all of the existing detail. Option A would be putting in 4 equal wood panels, 2 of which in the middle would be double doors as a carriage house detail, leaving the header and all the trim and the brick mold intact, and putting in the doors with glass top. On the option B would be the same, except for the 2 double doors in the middle, but then infilling the sides with the existing brick that the brick that we would be removing from the south side elevation. We feel that both work reasonably well. They keep the same integrity of the design, and this is what we are proposing to do. If there are any initial questions, if not, I would like to continue.
Why don't you go ahead, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay. There are 4 main fundamentals to our design proposal. Number 1 is the asset design, preservation, and renovation. Number 2 is the asset character retention and material repurposing. Number 3 is the selective and sensitive demolition. And 4 is the new design and construction considerations. Number 1, the asset design, preservation, and renovation main points are as follows. The spatial relationship of the proposed relocation of the existing overhead garage door does not change the orientation or function of the original garage. The curb approach and driveway remain on Dundee Road, the south elevation of the property. The existing door size, and door material stay intact. The door header and framing detailing will be preserved, as well as all brick coining. The garage will become more functional as the proposed new door location can take advantage of a wider interior dimension. As a matter of fact, that garage is wider in this what we're proposing than it is now. The function of the existing space will be maintained as well as enhanced. The proposed renovation will allow for greater unobstructed viewing of the asset, secured access to the rear of the property, as well as a new multi-function as a carport and potential covered entertainment area adjacent to the proposed new construction. The asset character retention and material repurposing main points are as follows. All removed brick from the south elevation will be carefully removed, cleaned, saved, and reinstalled in the west elevation per the final design options selected. The existing garage door will also be removed from the west elevation and repositioned as indicated on the south elevation. The newly constructed exterior exposed garage door header, frame, and brick mold trim will match the existing in material, form, and finish. All reinstalled existing brick will match bond detailing and mortar color. Number 3, the selective and sensitive demolition main points are as follows. The existing 1,320 square feet of concrete curb approach and driveway is being removed, as well as the freestanding basketball backboard. The existing south side landscaping material, which obscures the garage facade, is being removed, which will allow for unobstructed viewing of the asset. All other freestanding major plantings are being replanted along the outside edge of the west property line, as indicated on the drawings of sheet L1. All other materials to be removed will be handled as indicated earlier. 4, the new design and construction considerations are as follows. Garage door relocation and new replacement wood double doors with wood side panels or new wood double doors with brick infill as indicated on drawing sheet A4. New 20-foot wide exposed aggregate driveway installed on south side of property, extending from relocated garage doors to public sidewalk with the new concrete curb approach. This is indicated on the drawing sheet L1. The new drive and approach will cover 500 square feet versus the existing 1,320 square feet of concrete as indicated on sheet L2. 4-foot tall open metal rail fence with gates as indicated on the drawings sheet L2. New plantings which will blend seamlessly with the existing overall landscape plan will also allow for greater unobscured viewing of the asset as indicated on the drawings sheet L2. And finally, new proposed in-ground swimming pool also indicated on the drawings sheet L2. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much for that great and thorough presentation. We really appreciate the level of detail. Hank, I guess I turn it over to you.
Yeah, there's just a couple things that I just want to clarify so everybody understands it. And I'll go back to this page that I have up. The pool as itself is in the rear yard. The house fronts off of Dundee. And then this is where the rear yard is. So technically the rear yard is from here back, okay? So this particular pool and the fence both would be administrative approvals. So that's why not much was spent on talking about them because they're allowed to have that in the backyard. Mr. Ostrowski on his plan has vigorously gone to hide that with the multitude of landscaping options that he has here. So the pool really won't be visible from the side yard. It meets the requirements, it meets the dimension requirements, the setback requirements, and it won't require any special dispensation on that order. I do want to talk for a moment about the approach. The approach is shown as exposed aggregate. If approved, that would have to be conventional concrete pour. So that would be concrete, and then from there, the property line in, or from the street line, the sidewalk line in towards the garage could be exposed aggregate, and that would be fine, assuming the HCC approves it. The way that the doors are set up, what Mr. Ostrowski's really done is he's taken it and flipped it around so that it's a little bit more functional. And I don't know whether it worked out that way accidentally or by design, but the dimensions that he kept are the existing dimensions. It wasn't anything that was stretched, moved, or whatever. And he's respecting the original opening by giving two options with that. One option, which would be keeping the original header and putting in the 4 doors, would more closely replicate what was there, and it would protect the opening if for some reason, as the Secretary of the Interior's guidelines like to state, that if it was removed, it could be easily replaced, which it could. Now, why anybody would want to do that, I have no idea, but it is in there. So that's one of the things. So he's taking care to respect that opening. As far as the other opening, if you take a look and see, and I'm going to move this, let's see here. Okay, see back over here on the side of this, which is the garage. The garage is right here. Can everybody see my cursor? Okay,
Yes.
so the garage is right here, and here you'll notice a tremendous amount of foliage. that's around this. So the garage door where the windows are now and where everything is now and where it's proposed is really not that visible to begin with. So the question really becomes is that a good place? Is that a bad place? Is that something that the Historic District Commission feels that it could be behind? I do want to point out another option in that should there not be a certificate of appropriateness in thought with the HCC with this, it can also be dealt with on a notice to proceed, which means they understand it, you see what it is, it's a greater improvement to the property. It doesn't exactly meet the certificate of appropriateness, but it certainly has proved its merit to go and be allowed. And if you don't feel like signing off on the certificate of appropriateness, that is another option that's available to the HDC. Let me see here. One other option that I'm pointing out here is that in this particular design here, if you see where this is, because of where this is, and this is the original design, you'll notice that Mr. Ostrowski won't be disturbing any trees to accomplish this. And I know that that is a big thing with the HDC. So I wanted to point that out. The area that he's talking about that's going to be occupied by the pool are not going to do anything with any trees or anything of any substance. So this is what he has here right now. This is what he's going to end up with, is, you know, right over here. There we go. This is what he's going to end up with. And you can see the shadows of the two vehicles in the driveway here. The entryway will go through the back over to here. And this will stay, the patio will stay. The view from the Dundee Road will not change. The concrete there will be flat, you won't see it. There's fence, there's shrubs there now. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, Mr. Ostrowski.
That's correct.
So the visibility of this particular fence or this area here already exists. So that's already there. There's a slight configuration and there's a move and certainly plans to make that a little bit more dense in order to keep up with the privacy and do it with natural vegetation rather than ask for a stockade fence or anything of that nature. So having said that, you basically go to the Secretary of the Interior's guidelines, which is what the Historic District takes a look at with this. The property or the guideline number 1, which is a property will be used as it was historically, or given a new use that requires minimal change to distinctive features, spaces, and spatial relationships. The use of the property is not changing. It was single family residential, is single family residential, and will continue to be single family residential. The historic character of the property will be retained and preserved. The removal of distinctive materials and alterations of feature spaces or spatial relationships that characterize the property will be avoided. What you have to decide is the swap door play into that? The garage already has a door. They have more concrete. What Mr. Ostrowski is proposing is actually less concrete. I'm going to guess somewhere in the neighborhood of half. Mike, I'm sorry, I don't have the figures off the top of my head, but I'm going to guess here.
That is, Hank, it is half. It's less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
1,300 existing, we're looking at 500.
okay, so the driveway itself will be approximately half the size. And then it says each property will be recognized as a physical record of its time, place, and changes that create a false sense of historical development, such as adding conjectural features or elements from other historic properties, will not be undertaken. Here, what they're doing is they're using the same door. So the door that's on the existing structure will be swapped over to the south elevation, and then it'll be put in place. So realistically, the door's the same. It's just on a different side of the building. And it's just one of those things where you have to determine, is this something that's a reasonable use of the property and does it really detract from it? So he's not removing the door. It's not like he's asking to take out, you know, a grand wood door and put in a less expensive vinyl door or something like that. So those are important points to go over. 4 is changes to a property that have required significance in their own right will be retained and preserved. There were no changes here. This is the first proposed change to this. So as a result, 4 really wouldn't apply. And then it says distinctive features, materials, finishes, and construction techniques or examples of craftsmanship that characterize the property will be preserved. Mr. Ostrowski on this particular drawing has gone to the extent of using the same type of header, the same opening, the same garage door, and then using an infill technique to fill in where the door was on the backside rather than just bricking it in, understanding that the reality is nobody will see it after the shrubbery and everything else is put in there, but it still respects, or what he's trying to do is trying to respect the original opening. 6, deteriorated historic features will be repaired rather than replaced. That doesn't apply here because that's not why this is, and this is not driven by deterioration. It's driven by practicality for the family and trying not to compromise the existing structure. 7, chemical or physical treatments. Again, it says if appropriate, it's not, because that's not what's being done here. Same with number 8, archaeological resources will be protected and preserved in place. I don't believe they found any dinosaurs there, but you never know. So I don't think that applies either. And 9, new addition, exterior alterations, or new construction will not destroy historic materials, features, or spatial relationships that characterize the property. The new work will be differentiated from the old and will be compatible with historic materials, features, size, and proportion, and massing to protect the integrity of the property and its environment. Here again, we had Mr. Ostrowski use the same door and swap it over to the other side so that the materials are the materials, and then infill with that. There's one of 2 options, and I will point out that with the second option, which is the 2-door, that the header size also shrinks, and that does change some of the look, and it also changes the feasibility of that ever being used again. Again, it goes back to not everybody would, which is standard 10, where it says new additions and adjacent or related new construction will be undertaken in a manner that if removed in the future, the essential form and the integrity of the historic property and its environment would be unimpaired. The answer is sure, you could if they have the door opening there, but then again, you'd have to take out the pool, put in the concrete, and do everything like that, which is a huge undertaking with little to no benefit to do so unless they decide they don't want a pool anymore. So that's the one thing with that. And again, I do want to point out, go back to here for a quick second, that this area here would come out and it would be returned to Greenbelt. The curb would be replaced. I've already consulted DPW on this to get their opinion on if this is a problem or if this is acceptable. DPW does not have a problem with it, as it does not appear to impact any trees or any other anything else, and they would be supervising how this is put back together with the curb line and the sod. And then over here, whether they were allowed a curb cut or it had to be done with a pour, that would be details worked out between the Department of Public Works and Mr. Ostrowski, who I assume is going to see this project through to fruition if the HDC approves it. So other than that, right now, that's all I have. If anybody has any questions, I'm sure that Mr. Ostrowski or I would be happy to answer to the best of our ability. And if not, if anybody wants me to leave this up, I'll leave it up. If not, I'm going to stop the screen share.
Hank, before you do that, I'd like to see if you go to the A4. Okay, right there. Thank you. Option B, because of the detail, if you look down at the bottom, the header, the garage header detail, that brick will be going up past the existing header. So the existing header is behind that brick in that area. The detail will indicate, if you look at it, the brick goes past, the header will stay intact.
So you're going to leave the header, and
I'm
all
gonna
it is
leave the header
that you're
all the
going
way
to
across.
you're going to brick this in, but
Yes,
the header size, which runs from here to here, will not
stay.
be altered. And what you're
Correct.
doing is you're showing it as smaller on the outside.
Correct.
So you're boxing this out.
Correct. So you will have, the same, if somebody wants to one day take that out, it's there. And put the garage door. So we're not taking out that header. We're just encapsulating it. And if you look at the detail, you can see it below. and that's the original detail.
I can't see that small, Mike.
Okay. The other thing that is interesting, just so everybody knows, on the original documents or the original drawings, which I think are A3, A2,
This is
A2.
what I've got here, A3.
That's A3. If you go to A2,
I don't know that I have A2 here, Michael.
oh, okay.
Me too.
You have it in your plans, but there was like one of them that I couldn't cut
Oh.
to get small enough
Well,
to
the
fit on.
original, yeah, one of the reasons we went with this look on these doors is that the original garage doors had this detail with the muttoned glass in the upper section of the doors. So we're even kind of tying that into even the original aspects of the garage.
So I guess for clarification, Mr. Chair, are you proposing one option or the other? Or is this one of the things where you're happy with, you have a preference, which I assume would be option A? Is that correct?
Are you asking me or the chairman?
You. I just
Oh.
want to make sure that
My
that's for Chris to,
whatever the Hellers are comfortable with. I mean, I gave them two, we gave them two options. And it's,
I guess I want to make sure we should be only talking about one or the two. So perhaps I noticed that they're here. They may want to weigh in on this. Because they're not gonna, it has to be done in a specific motion.
I
So
see.
it'd be something that would say, including the garage as detailed in option A or the garage as detailed in option B.
Well,
They're
I
not
think-
gonna approve one, they'd pick one.
right.
you know.
Our original thoughts were option A, because we'd be leaving the header exposed. We'd leave everything a little bit more as is. We're not wrapping the brick. We don't have to tuck point as much on the back. I think that A leaves. I think A looks better. I like A. I'll say that.
Okay, so Mr. Chairman, that would be the option that would be considered before us, and should that pass, then I guess that would be it. Should that fail, then you could also make a motion for option B and see if that has any traction. So, other
Okay.
than that, if everybody's okay with that, I'm going to stop the share. We good?
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
So Hank, just because I realized I didn't have my little rules of order here, it's the commissioners ask questions and then public participation, or do I have that backwards?
What I would do is I would give the Hellers a chance to speak since it's their project. And then at that point in time, I would open it for public participation and see if anybody has anything that they might
Perfect.
want to add to that. And then when the commission speaks, they'll have had the benefit of hearing all the conversations.
Perfect, thank you. So welcome, Hellers. Would you like to say anything about your project?
We just would like to thank you all for the opportunity to consider this addition to our house. We've lived here for 2 years now. This is something we've been talking about for a while, and definitely look forward to putting this in with your approval. And thank you also to Michael.
I grew up here in Huntington Woods, and with my twin sister Beth, who's in your lower screen.
Again,
Well,
thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, I see some other folks on the call, so we would like to open up for any public participation. We would ask that if you speak, just please state your name and your address and then your comments, please.
Hi, I'm Beth Radner, and I'm Gail's sister and sister-in-law of David. And I also grew up here and still live here. And believe it or not, I live next door to her. And they moved here from New York a couple of years ago, and was lucky enough to be next door. And I wanted to say that I do support the proposed plan, and I think it's really beautiful. And it's funny how you look at things differently. I mean, I've lived here in this house for over 25 years, 27 years. And I didn't realize how much concrete there is. I mean, I walk by that every day, that garage. And so looking at this differently, with a different view, I really like it. And I feel it really enhances the property. You'll see less concrete and more tree. And I just think they did it in a thoughtful way and certainly maintains the integrity of the original beautiful home. So thank you so much for your consideration.
I think I can't remember. Did you state your address? That's the only thing.
Oh, I'm
we
so
missed.
sorry.
No, that's okay.
I did not. It's 8616 Nadine Avenue.
Perfect. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, just as a point of information for this too, is that where Beth lives, she lives directly behind. So this house is on a corner and she would live right behind it. So the affected area would be directly next to her house. She is the most affected neighbor by this.
So I see some other folks on the call. Is there anybody else who would like to speak about this applicant? So unfortunately, Mr. Shore, we cannot hear you right now. So if you are going to speak, for some reason, we can't hear you.
Are you muted? Check your mic.
I don't see a mute, but and I'm pretty sure he was speaking earlier.
Yeah, no, he did. Mr. Shore, we cannot hear you.
I guess the attempt is done. Okay.
Okay. Mr. Shore is indicating thumbs up. So do we take that to be supportive of the project?
Okay, he's nodding his head. Yes. Okay. Anybody else would like to speak on behalf of this application?
I'll start it off. This is Louise. Mike, first of all, I want to echo Chris's comments. You really did such a nice job and provided us with so much information and detail. Your plan is very thoughtful, and I can tell. I think everybody can tell you put a lot of work into it. So thank you for doing that. And if the Hellers could just nod in agreement that they would prefer the 4 doors in the back instead of just the 2. Yeah, thumbs up. Okay, great. And I want to confirm that the glass block replacement window in the back, that's pretty much just going to stay as it is, right?
Correct.
Yep. And I was pleased that it seems, to Hank's point earlier, that the concrete that is visible right now before the bend in the driveway is going to be the same size. So I didn't have any trouble with that at all. I think this is a very thoughtful plan. That's all I have right now.
Thank you. Steve, you're next up on the screen, so I'll pick on you.
Okay. Hank, this is a question for you more or less, I guess. The driveway at 20 feet, is that an allowable driveway width or is that a?
It is.
Okay, so that's all good. I like the plans and I echo as both Louise and Chris said that the plans are prepared very thoroughly and I appreciate that. I just have a question on the back door with the 4-door option. Are only 2 doors openable and then the other 2 doors are just more, for show or aesthetic doors or?
Yeah, Steve, they're panels. They're all going to look, the same, but the 2 doors in the middle are the only operable doors. The doors will swing out 180 degrees and go flush with the panels on the side.
Okay. The only and this might be minor, but I think, I just have kind of second thoughts about the exposed aggregate and whether or not there should be some consideration of just putting in regular brushed concrete or a standard floated, flat concrete top. That's what's there now, and that's probably what's been there. And I think the exposed aggregate is kind of novel, and I don't know. I'm not. That's the only thing I have a little bit of misgivings about with the project, and just want to express that. See if it gets any traction amongst the other commissioners.
Thank you, Steve. Jim, you're next on my screen, so why don't you go
Okay.
next, please?
Sure. We've heard a lot about the concrete differential area at the after the project would be completed. What is the total concrete area of the pool deck and the surrounding area? Just looking to understand the net change in impervious surface.
We're under the 50% for a non-pervious surface in the
Okay,
backyard.
so you don't know the total area of the pool deck?
Well, the pool deck in any non-pervious surface is 59%. I mean, excuse me, 49%.
I think for clarification, what I think Jim is asking and what Mike are answering are two different questions. Jim wants to know if you have an idea of what the square footage of the deck is so that he can get an idea of the net gain or loss of concrete. Like, does the 600 square feet that comes off the driveway, does that get eaten up by the pool area?
Oh,
So
I'm
I
sorry.
believe that's where he's going with
I'm
it.
sorry.
What you were answering is that you're
The
answering
whole-
a code question,
Right.
which you are correct.
Right. So we are under, but I would say that we have another maybe 500 square feet of concrete around the deck itself, but it will be, we're looking at using a limestone deck material.
Understood. Was there any investigations or design concepts that included not moving the garage door and still achieving the, I'm guessing that this project is driven by the installation of the pool. Did you look at options which would preserve the driveway and garage intact?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There was not enough room in the back to create the usable pool with the shape and the setback requirements with the driveway coming around. We looked at it 2 or 3 different ways. We even looked at the pool being on the side of the house, and which never would have passed as we were directed to look at. And so this became the most viable and I think a solution to the needs of the Hellers.
Mike, are there any large trees in the backyard?
There's an existing beautiful Japanese maple that we are transplanting closer to the existing patio.
Right, but what I'm saying is there's nothing there that you can't shift the pool to the north.
We've done that. We've done that as far as possible. We've moved the tree farther north. Yes.
It was just for clarification.
Yes.
I didn't mean to horn in on Jim's time.
No,
it's okay. I guess, I'm asking that question. I've walked by this house. It's on a prime entry point to Huntington Woods. It's prominent. It's a beautiful home. And the way that the roof line of the garage on the south elevation comes down, and then you have the vegetation right in front of where your new proposed garage door would be. I think you are talking about a fundamental change to the character of the home by moving that garage door around to the side. So that's why I'm asking about what other options there might be. I understand, it's on a corner. You have issues to deal with from the city and the zoning ordinance that don't allow things in the front. You basically have 2 front yards. So I understand that. But I also think that this home is, I'm looking at this other screen where I have the street view of the corner there. And I really feel that it's a detriment to the home to make that change. I echo everyone's comments about this being a thoughtful plan and the amount of work that's gone into it. So don't get me wrong, I appreciate it. The guideline, interiors guideline number 2 talks about maintaining the historic character. And I feel like we've got a kind of an issue with that with this scheme. So I'll leave it at that. That's just the impetus of my question. You're muted, Chris.
Yep, thanks, Jim. Martha, you're up.
I too want to thank you for doing such a great job with the plans
Hi,
and
Martha.
everything is very nicely thought out, and I compliment you on that. I know it's a difficult shaped lot for you to work with. I have to say that I've spent a lot of time looking at the house. Well, I used to ride past it on my bike all the time because it reminded me of the Tin Man and the Wizard of Oz when I was a kid. I adore the house, and as many times as I've been past it, I really stopped and looked very closely because of these plans. And I noticed today even that the orientation of your house on the property is very beautiful because it creates a sense of the lot being larger than it really is. And if you stand at that stop sign there at Nadine and Dundee and look at your house, it's like the perfect place. You see at the 3/4 view, and it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And my concern too is that by moving the garage door over to the south side, that would change that character defining features of the house, that sense of balance and unity that is created by the way the house is on the lot. And because there's nothing there, this is going to create a lot of activity at that area, and it's going to change the nature of the environment there because now you're going to have concrete instead of grass. And it also changes the relationship of your land and your property to the park across the street. So people in the park are going to be seeing in your garage, and there's going to be more activity. So I'm concerned about, the integrity of the whole environment with this. I wish there was some way that you could keep the doors where they are. And I understand what it is you want to do. Everybody wants their house to accommodate their needs. And I'm really sort of torn at this point. I think it would be a mistake because it would change the sense of peace and it's just so peaceful looking the way it is right now. So I guess that's all I really have to say at this point. There was one other question when you were talking about the benefit of having less concrete, but it seems like you're filling up more of the land space with non-permeable surface. So what happens with the water flow from the home when it rains? I mean, it's not going to all go into the pool. It's got to go somewhere, and you've got quite a bit of deck, and then you've got your new driveway, but you've also got that bluestone. So I'm real big about water flow because of the Great Flood and my having 4 feet of sewage back up in my basement. I don't want anybody to ever have to go through having problems with water flow. And so I was just curious if that's been considered in terms of the amount of.
Absolutely. When we've met on the planning commission and doing things, that we are very concerned about that, and it's all been taken care of. The thing that I think you want to realize, or, number one, when you're at Alligator Park and you're standing at Alligator Park, you can see into the garage of the Hellers now. We're moving that driveway. We're moving the driveway farther to the east, where it's past the tip of Alligator Park. So if you're at Alligator Park, you can't see into the garage. The other thing that is really kind of an exciting thing on this plan is the fact that we're removing those 20-foot arborvitae, which block everything. You know, we're bringing from Alligator Park, we're bringing that fence down, we're bringing the arborvitae down so that when you're in Alligator Park, you're going to be able to see the house. You know, you can only see the house from one perspective, as you said, bringing your bike down. But now if you're coming the other way, you'll be able to see the house. You know, the vegetation on that south elevation, Martha, it blocks the whole south side of that house. And you can't, all you see is the roof. And that's not even the original roof material. So it's just blocking the brick, it's blocking everything along there. And all you're seeing is 20-foot arborvitae, 8-foot tall viburnum, and grass. What we're proposing is you're going to see the whole depth of the property now. So if you're at Nadine and Dundee and you're standing there, you're going to see the whole depth of that property, which is really going to be dramatic. And you're going to see the detail of the coining on the corners, which are blocked now. You're going to see the header detail, which is blocked now. You know, you're going to see the gutter work. You're going to see everything that is, which makes that house so special. You know, and so by moving that, you know, taking that down and putting this in, we're expanding the beauty of the house more than I think causing a detriment to it. I think we're letting that house breathe, because right now it's just overgrown with so much landscaping that, you know, I think you'll see more of it, and you'll see that tranquil, angular detail of that corner, because, you know, it opens up. This house is different because it opens up to that whole corner. If you look at the engineered site plan, it's wide open there. So you're driving by, or you're seeing it, you're looking at it, and you're saying, gee, I wonder what that house looks like. I can't see through the vegetation. So we're trying to create, you know, that specialty. We're trying to bring that specialness back.
Mm-hmm. I do like the vegetation the way it is, but that's just me, because
remember, we're blocking that asset. We're blocking the beautiful coining detail. You know,
it also creates some privacy for the people in the park, and vice versa, privacy for the people in the home. And the other thing that I'm also concerned about too is the use of aggregate as opposed to concrete. I just, you know, I agree too that I think it's kind of it would be more in keeping with the original aspect of the house to stay with concrete there if you're going to put it.
Exposed aggregate is concrete. You know, it's just the exposed aggregate aspect of it. You know, when you pour concrete, it's white for a long, long time. You know, aggregate, you know, it just is. It's so blatantly white.
Yeah.
And I think that with the exposed aggregate, you know, I think you have a softer feel. You know, it is concrete. It blends in with the masonry. It gives it. I think it's just a beautiful additional detail that doesn't take anything away, you know, because if we can do this and we do the aggregate, you know, when you're driving by, you're not going to be blinded by that white concrete. So,
Mr. Chair, just one other thing that I want to interject here, because since we're looking at the site plan, there's an error on it from the perspective that where the pool mechanicals are located, they're in a rear yard required setback, so those would have to be shifted slightly.
oh, okay.
It's not. It shows you got to have a minimum of 6 off the back.
No problem, Hank.
And obviously, Hank, when it comes to the pool design, obviously that we
That
would
goes
expect
before
that the
the building
building department is all yours.
Yeah,
And we're focused on obviously the alterations to the
correct,
home.
correct.
Thank you. I guess thanks, Martha. You're all set, right? Okay. I just wanted to make sure I didn't cut you off. You know, these houses that are on corners are always a challenge. We've seen this a lot in both zoning and planning, and I certainly empathize with the challenges that having a corner lot certainly causes, and I appreciate the creativity as you tried to find an acceptable solution to overcome those challenges. I appreciate the level of detail I did like the option A better, so I'm glad you chose that. I thought that really brought some nice character to it. And I do appreciate the fact that at least from a massing and roof line, I mean, you did a very delicate insertion, the most delicate insertion you could to be as respectful as possible to the house. And I support what you proposed.
Yeah, we haven't changed the orientation of the house. You know, we've been so careful of that. When you think about one of the standards is the fact that we're not changing the orientation of the house or the spatial relationships. You know, everything is staying intact. It's just a way to have the owners use their property in a respectful way to the house. So thank you for your comments. I appreciate that.
So Hank, I think we've all said something. So I think at this time we're entertaining a motion. Am I in correct order?
You are in correct order unless you want to allow the Hellers or Mr. Ostrowski to make any other comments before you do. I would point out that you need 4 votes to pass this. So that would be what you want, what you want to do. I don't know if there's any conversation that could be had. You can vote, see what it is. You can have further discussions after the vote, even as to what may or may, should the vote fail, as to what would be acceptable, or you can vote it and approve it, whatever it is, or modify it in some respect.
So I guess at this point in time, we would entertain a motion and then there can be some discussion about that motion, correct, Hank?
That is correct.
So I will put it to the commissioners if there's anybody who would like to entertain making a motion.
Well, I think I would like to make a motion that we approve of the plans, a notice to proceed, acknowledging that it is a change from the original driveway entrance, and approve option A with the 4 doors in the back, replacing the original garage door. And well, I guess it depends on the Hellers. And Mike, are you married to the aggregate? Is there a tiny pebble aggregate that would be less intrusive to the eye?
A tiny pebble aggregate.
Yeah, I know there are different sizes.
Smaller gauge.
Smaller gauge.
That's what we're looking at, a very small gauge, a pea pebble aggregate.
Okay.
Pea pebble exposed aggregate, yes.
Okay. Okay, so that's my motion. I need to repeat it.
Hank, do you need a summary on that, or do you think you understand the motion? I can certainly do my summary of it if it's helpful.
Either or, if you want to summarize it, Chris, because you still need a second for it.
Sure. So I'll quickly summarize that. It's a motion to approve the plan as presented with the option A and a small gauge exposed aggregate driveway.
And it's a notice to proceed. And
So, excuse me, a notice to proceed, not a certificate of appropriateness, a notice to proceed. And we're looking for a second on that motion.
I would second that motion.
Okay, so we will, I'll just go around and we'll do a roll call vote. So Luis, you happen to be first on my screen. So how would you like to vote?
yeah.
Well, I guess I'm asking for a vote in support and then we'll go on the nays afterwards. So sorry. Luis,
Okay, I made the motion. Yes.
Jim? I'm sorry, Jim, I couldn't hear you.
Muted. No.
Martha?
No.
Steve?
Yes.
And I would vote a yes on that. So that is 2 noes, 3 yeses. So the motion does not pass. Is that correct, Hank?
That is correct. at this point in time, Mr. Chair, what you can do is entertain another motion. Or if nobody wants to make a motion with anything different, then that stands. And you can have discussion on it as to what may or may not be acceptable that might sway some of the minds of the commissioners at the next meeting, or that Mr. Ostrowski could present. It's up to you at this point in time, but I'm sure one way or another that Mr. Ostrowski would appreciate some guidance.
So I guess at this point in time, I'll try, first of all, if there might be another motion with some compromise in it that someone would care to entertain. So it does not seem like we're going to get another motion on the table tonight. So
Can we table this till next meeting?
You can table it to the next meeting if you would like. The only thing is that what you come to the next meeting with has to be different than what you have at this meeting. So there has to be some kind of change. I mean, what would the reason be to table it? You would have to articulate the reason to table it, like you have a change or something like that that you would want to make in the plan that would be material enough to have it look at it at the next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And if you feel that you can do that and you want to adjust the plan for that, then it would be fair to, it's already been voted on and it hasn't passed. So what you can do is you can come back at the next meeting. You don't need a table at this point to do so. So you can come back at the next meeting with a different plan or an alteration or something like that. Perhaps the aggregate change, I mean, show maybe some different things. And again, the city would be happy to work with you on what you may have or what you may want to submit. But that's up to you. And if that's the case, then you would just simply refill out the application. We would go for the next month's meeting.
Okay, and that is what next in February?
That would be February. So you would get me the materials as soon as you can, that we do work with applicants. So.
Okay. All right. All right.
So other than that, Mr. Chair, it appears that the motion fails and there's none other forthcoming.
Well, we'd still like to thank you for participating and submitting your plans, and hopefully we'll see you again.
Hopefully, I would look forward to it.
All right,
So
thank you again for your consideration.
Thank you very much. So Hank, I guess we're back on the agenda to our other applicant.
Right.
Sorry,
So
I just maximize my screen so I could see. So let me get the name of that applicant back up.
Zacharias residence at 4605 Henry. If there's
Thank
anybody.
you. So is there anybody on the call who is prepared to present that application? It appears that there is no one on the line, Hank, to present that application.
Mr. Chairman, at this point in time, what I would suggest is that the Historic District Commission make a motion to deny based on the fact that there's nobody here to present and there's inadequate information. But I don't think tabling it at this point in time, because you have the 60-day codicil, which kicks into effect, and there's nobody here to ask for the table. So the applicant would certainly be free to reapply for the next meeting. They were noticed, they were within the 300 feet, they got the written notice, and we've had many conversations with them about this. But for whatever reason, they've chosen not to be here this evening, or were unable to be here this evening.
Okay, so then I will just look for that motion to deny this application, since there is not enough, well, there's nobody there to present, nor is there enough information to render a decision.
I'll make a motion to deny based on the lack of information and no one to present.
Thank you, Martha. Could I have a second, please?
I'll second.
So Louise second. So I'll just do a roll call. Louise?
Yes,
Okay.
motion to deny.
Jim?
Aye.
Martha?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye. Yes.
And I'm an aye as well. So Hank, do we have any other business this evening?
We basically do not. I just do want to point out once again that the city commission has gone down to 7 members from the 9 on the HDC. And as a result, Mr. Fink is still on and Mr. Lebo is still on, who are not in attendance this evening. And obviously you all are still on, for which we greatly appreciate your service. But having said that, I have nothing else for you this evening.
Sorry, was a member of the city commission gonna be?
At this point in time, that hasn't been decided. So right now you have 7 members. You have to maintain an odd number, the majority for votes, and that was 4. That was the intent in doing so, seeing as we did not have we had some attendance concerns, and we lost a member by attrition, and it seemed like an opportune time to do that. So at this point in time, I don't have anything further to add to that.
Thank you, Hank. So our last item is public participation. If anybody from the public would like to speak, now is your chance. Okay, then Hank, we will close public participation. And I guess that leaves the motion to adjourn. Looking for a motion?
Motion to adjourn, Louise.
Okay, can I have a second? Martha, second. All in favor? We can just probably do this one all at once.
Aye.
Aye. I think that was unanimous. All right, thanks very much, and thanks for your patience as I learn how to do this.
You did very well. Thank you.
Everybody, Happy New Year.
Good night.
Thanks, yes. Happy New Year, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.